Hey guys, Alex J here. Here's a short but sweet tutorial on how to properly partition your hard drives in order to have a dedicated NTFS space for Windows and HFS Plus for Mac within the same hard drive. Both of these formats bring smooth operation and harness the power of permissions and journaling on both domains inside the disk.
In this quick tutorial, I'm going to show you how to format a drive inside Mac OS X and create different partitions inside of the drive for different uses. This is great for your traveling drive or the drive you're going to use to share files with people from studio to studio. You can create several different partitions inside of it to work for both Mac and PC, and also auxiliary units like smart TVs that use kind of like the older legacy formatting schemes like FAT32 or exFAT. Let's begin by looking at the cheat sheet we introduced in the drive formatting and uses video. If you haven't looked at that video or seen that cheat sheet, I strongly recommend that you do that first before you follow through with this. So if you have, let's go ahead and open the document. In this example, we're going to format a hard drive. So let's first look at the formatting schemes that work best for them. For Windows, NTFS is obviously the winner, and for Mac is HFS Plus. So now let's look at the disk utility and see what options we have. Remember, if you did optimizations, you might not find it through Spotlight. So you want to go to Launchpad and look for it there. Okay, so now that we're in the disk utility, we're going to look at my OWC drive. And even though it has partitions inside of it already, I'm going to wipe it for the exercise so we can create new ones instead. So I'm going to start by erasing this disk completely. Mind, I'm only doing this because I know it's completely 100% safe to be erased, and I have proper backups of all of the important files that were inside of it. Okay, so I'm going to click on the button that says Erase, which is going to display all the options for the format. If you click on the Format tab, you can look at all the different formatting schemes available with the disk utility. So 95% of the time, we're going to use OS X Extended for the Mac. There's also different options as case sensitive, which kind of gives it a more secure version of Mac OS X Extended. And there's encrypted options as well, which can be super useful in different scenarios. For example, if you're working on a project that's a paid project and there's pressure on the other side to get the files, you can still send them the files, but in a small encrypted partition. That way you work professionally and you guarantee delivery times, but the only way they're going to get a password to open the session is when you get payment. That's a little secret music business tip for you. If you look at the bottom of the list, you'll see you'll have a couple of Windows options. FAT, which is really FAT32, and exFAT. But remember, when we're creating partitions for our Windows drive, and we can check back on our sheet, those formats are not the best for hard drives. They're better for small flash drives or SSD drives because they have a file limitation. And even if you use exFAT, they have no journaling or compression or any of that good stuff. So at this point, you might be asking yourself, what are we going to do? But before you do that, let's first wipe the drive with an OS X partition, which we're going to name New Drive. As far as the formatting, we're going to keep OS X Extended, and for the scheme, we're going to keep GUID partition map, which is the standard. Then we can click on the Erase button, which is actually going to create the new partition. You can look at the detailed process by clicking on the Show Details arrow, which is going to show you exactly what the operating system is doing. And the result will be a new drive with a Mac OS X formatting scheme, housing close to 500 gigs of storage. Okay, a little bit more. Okay, it's done. We have a new drive. We can check it here, and it's close to 500 gigs. It's OS X Extended, and it's completely available. Great. So now effectively, we have a completely new drive, which we're actually going to create a new partition inside of it. To do that, we need to click on the main volume and click on the partition button to look at our options. So the first thing we need to figure out is how big do we want the partition to be? It can be very small to share a few files, or it can be really big, almost the entire disk, really up to you. So as you can see, this is a very clean and easy way to create a new partition that's not your main one for the drive, which is really cool because you can create anything for both Windows or Mac and in Mac you have all those encrypted options, which are great for creating small capsules for encrypted files or whatnot. So moving on, I want to create a new Windows partition for a hard drive, but I'm not going to do it using the disk utility, because if you remember our sheet, none of those options we saw inside the disk utility are great for hard drive purposes. We should really be using NTFS, but how do we do that? There's actually a great company called Tuxera, which makes a software called Tuxera Disk Manager, which you can download online. Which in essence is the same as disk utility, but it does have enhanced functions, and you can do other formatting schemes like NTFS. One thing you'll notice about the software is that it doesn't actually create a partition for you, but it does have the ability to format right off the bat. So what we're going to do in this case, we're going to have to create a new partition inside of the disk utility, and we're going to come back to Tuxera Disk Manager to format that partition into NTFS. So let's go back to Disk Utility, and we're going to select the main volume and then click on the partition button. Now we're ready to dial in and create a new Windows partition inside our Mac drive. In this case, we're going to do 150 gigs, and we're going to choose the MS-DOS FAT formatting scheme and name the partition Windows Drive. So after that, we're going to click on Apply, and that's going to start the process of the creation of the partition. One thing you're going to notice as you're creating the partition is that the creation time is actually way slower than formatting a drive from scratch. So have a little patience, put on some music, or go for a coffee break, whatever you want to do until it's actually done. If during the process you have any doubts as of where the operating system is in the creation, you can always click on the Show Details arrow, and it's going to show you a detailed process of what's going on behind the scenes. It might look like it's not doing anything, but it's actually working behind the scenes. One thing that actually does do is it erases the name from the original partition, which is not a big deal. We can always reformat that Mac partition and rename it, but it did effectively create the two spaces. So if the process was effective, you'll actually see the drive as two separate drives, which if you try to eject them, it's going to ask you if you want to eject one or both partitions, and that's completely normal. So now the next logical step will be to format that Windows partition we just created in Disk Utility by using the Tuxera Disk Manager software. So let's go back. And once we're inside, you can actually look at the two partitions that are inside the main volume of the drive. Now we're ready to change this FAT32 formatting scheme into NTFS. So we're going to go to the Format tab and click on Windows NT File System or Tuxera NTFS. And we're going to rename the partition, which in this case we'll use the name Windows Drive NTFS. Then we're going to click on Format and confirm the deletion. So yeah, let's have a little patience. It's going to take a little bit of time, not too long because it's not a big volume, but we're going to effectively have a new NTFS volume within our Mac drive.
That's it for now. So give us a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Visit us on the web at www.musicmastermind.tv and create your free membership and gain access to this and many more incredible videos regarding advanced recording, mixing, and music production practices happening right here inside the professional high-end studio environment. There's a lot of really cool content that you won't see anywhere else. That's it for now. I'll see you very soon. Alex J here, over and out.